Welcome to One Old Man's Opinion, episode 22. Today's subject will be the State of the Union address, and maybe the second segment should be something along the lines of my opinion on the Supreme Court ruling with respect to tariffs. So, I had not watched the State of the Union in real time, mostly because I think President Trump's speeches are too long, and I'd be likely to go to sleep in the middle of one of them, or get up and fix a sandwich or something else rude, so I didn't watch it. And then I then I saw a couple of reviews on it, and I thought, okay, maybe it's an improvement. And so I went and watched it on YouTube, and sure enough, it was an improvement. He was much more disciplined. Didn't head off on too many random subjects down, chasing rabbit holes and things. He everything he said was worth listening to, whether you agreed with him or not. I thought the low point was when he criticized the Supreme Court. I didn't think that was appropriate in that venue under those circumstances. But that's President Trump. Appropriate doesn't always fit on the menu with him. Man, I thought the high point was when he invited everybody who believed the government's first responsibility was to protect its citizens and not foreigners should stand up, and none of the Democrats stood up. They indicated, I guess, by not standing up, that they would rather protect illegal aliens than American citizens. That's the way it looked to me. I mean, that's what I've always thought. That's what I've thought. Not always, of course, but I mean, that's what I've thought the last couple of years. And now, I guess they've had a public exposition. They've been cornered and they refused. Yeah, the optics of it are awful. How could they? It's just silly that they could do that. That they were dumb enough, blocked in enough to not realize that was going to cost them a lot of support, and it did. I'm sure, cost them a bunch. President Trump's approval rating, how are you doing rating, is up almost 10 points. It'll go back down, of course. These things tend to spike and dip, but it was very well received. We'll just put it that way. And so I like the part where he gave away a couple medals of honor. Yeah, I like the part where he described Charlie Kirk as a martyr. I liked where he described some of the accomplishments of his term so far. For example, the job that we've done on the border so far, that was pretty thorough. The amount of fentanyl getting into the country is down by almost 50%. The murder rate in the United States is the lowest in 125 years. 125 years. That's bizarre. Anyway, inflation is now down under 2%, the lowest it's been in 6 years. Oh, since the last time he set the low level. Gasoline is down. for those people who live on the West Coast, as I do, that doesn't, even though it's down, it isn't down as far as it is in some places. It's under $3 in most places. Here it's dipping under $4 from time to time, except in California, who knows. Mortgage rates are down. It's getting to be almost practical to buy a house again. The stock market has been up. It's set multiple new records recently. That's good for 401ks. I'm not sure it's good for anything else, but there is that. Foreign investment is way up. If you count pledges for foreign investment that's going to happen, and of course the pledges are never come out 100%, but there's been something like $18 trillion worth of pledges. That's a bunch. So reindustrialization is going to be a reality. There have been, since he took office, 70,000 new construction jobs. Construction is always one of those big economic indicators. People don't build houses to sell them if they're going to not have a place to sell them. So there's that. Domestic production of oil is up over 600,000 barrels a day. Venezuela has either shipped or pledged 800 million barrels of oil from their production. They were sending it all to China, most of it. Now it's going to come our way. Natural gas production is up. Got that fracking drill baby drill thing going. We have more employed workers than ever before. All of the new jobs that were added since he became president are in the private sector. In other words, he didn't go out and hire 100,000 people every month to make the numbers look good. They're all real. He ended DEI in the federal government, especially in the military. And about 2.4 to 2.5 million people are no longer on food stamps. Now, those are some reasonable accomplishments. And of course, the U.S. hockey team won Winter Olympics. Oh, and one of the things going forward is that if you've been following the AI thing, there are a few companies building huge processing centers, huge computer, acres and acres of computer building. And those are projected to strain the electric grid, and so he's signed an executive order insisting that if they're going to use that much electricity, they have to build their own generation capacity. So, and other things that I can't remember and didn't take notes on. He's whether he's taking credit for at least participating in ending 8 or 9 wars, little wars, big wars. And of course, he's still working on what's going on in Gaza. That's probably not going to go anywhere because Hamas is not about politics. Hamas is about killing Jews, and asking them not to do that is a little bit out of their domain. So altogether, though, I would say the State of the Union address was a success. It's been pretty well received, even in most of the mainstream outlets, of course, they've all been critical, but not in the way that they usually are. So, what's the old man's opinion? Pleasantly surprised. Pleasantly surprised. I support him. I like what he's doing, but sometimes his people-facing persona is a pain in the backside. So, but this time he carried it well. He didn't abuse too many people. He did accuse the Democratic side of the House of being shameful for not supporting the American people over foreigners, but I still can't believe they did that. There it is. One old man's opinion. See you in the next segment. Howdy there. This is the old man for segment 2. Episode 22. Gosh, I hope I got that number right. Anyway, this segment is about the Supreme Court and the decision that they made on tariffs, which put a dent in President Trump's tariff plan, whatever, program, there we go, where he was slapping tariffs on anybody he thought was getting an unfair trade balance with us, and then proceeded to try to negotiate with them to get a better deal, and then it was working to a degree. Also to a degree it was not working. Some prices have gone up to the degree that they look like they're inflation. For example, coffee's way up, but some other things have gone down. So on balance, it probably bore going forward until we figure out how it's really going to work, but it's too late for that. The Supreme Court said it wasn't constitutional, that he didn't have the authority to do that. The Supreme Court said he didn't have the authority to do that, and he didn't, as it works out, have the authority to do that. Under the law that he was using, it did not mention tariffs. It mentioned all kinds of other things you could do with, to, for, and about trade, but tariffs wasn't one of them. And here we have in the Constitution, Section 8, the Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imports, and excises. Tariffs is in the duties and excises category. And in the past, they have delegated that authority from time to time, but in the law that he was quoting, not so much. So he was complaining about some of the people that he appointed to the Supreme Court as going against him. And with him, loyalty's a big deal. But as it happens, the Supreme Court isn't supposed to be loyal to the president. They're supposed to be loyal to the Constitution. So, the 3 people that he was disappointed in did their job. There were 3 other conservatives on the court that didn't. Well, you gotta call them the way you see them. That's their job. And so we didn't win that one. That's okay. He has other tools to play with. But Neil Gorsuch put this comment in the opinion, and I'm gonna edit it down to just a few sentences here because these guys are too wordy for my taste. He says, "For those who think it important to the nation to impose more tariffs, I understand that today's decision will be disappointing. Yes, legislating can be hard and take time, and yes, it can be tempting to bypass Congress when some pressing problem arises. But the deliberative nature of the legislative process was the whole point of its design. But if history is any guide, the tables will turn, and the day will come when those disappointed by today's result will appreciate this legislative process for the bulwark of liberty it is. Thank you, Neil Gorsuch. In other words, they done their job, and we can stop whining about it and just get on with the other stuff. That's one old man's opinion. Travel with God. Like, subscribe, and share. We got to keep that algorithm warmed up.